Well, good morning, cob lovers. Here I am on young Dexter, who has been with us some months, and we've started under saddle. And I've just mounted her, and I've got myself organised. And like all the horses we work with, they need to stand patiently at the block for mounting, and not be in too much of a hurry to walk out the yard as soon as we get on. So she's been standing here for a minute or two. So I'm going to gather up the reins now a little bit, and we're going to walk on and go through the village. So walk on, Dexter. Walk on. It'll take a little while to get down the drive because her owners very much want her to go barefoot, which is lovely. Ideally, horses, we would have all of them barefoot, but our ground is quite flinty and not all of them can cope. Dexter has got very good feet. If there's a grass verge to walk on, well then she'll choose that. So we'll just keep her going until we get to the grass. Well, there's some grass here on the left, but it's a bit long. We'll be getting it cut. So my rein is quite long, so that we want them to learn how to take responsibility for where they need to be going. So especially with young horses, well, all horses really, the length of rein is very important, you know. It's only natural for humans to want to grab things and take control, you know, by having them on a firm rein. But in actual fact, if you can, you know, use your body, your mind, my little encourager down the shoulder, to keep her in the direction I want to go, I really don't have to. I try to use the reins as little as possible. So what she's doing is just leaning a little to the left towards the field, but we've straightened up now and we're coming down on the verge of the drive so she can get off the stones. I think Dexter is 5 years old, or she may be coming 6. She was 5 when we backed her. She may be coming 6 now. Anyway, she wasn't backed as a very young horse. Pony. She's only a pony. I don't know how big she is, but she wouldn't be over 14 hands. She might be 13.3. And you know, in preparing her for this, we've had a process, as we always do, that, you know, we just take it one step at a time, because it's all too easy to think that they can do more, to rush things, but there's always a penalty to pay if that's the case. So it's better to do a few little things really, really well than to think, oh, we'll go and do this now, we'll go and do that now, and to push the horse out of its comfort zone in too big a way. You know, it's too overwhelming. Well, I must say, after all the recent bad weather we've had, really gale force winds and lashing rain, and today is just so remarkable in comparison, really remarkable. It's just a pleasure to be out today, and there's no flies to speak of yet, so that's even better. Now the other thing is, walking down here and I see all the old droppings that the horses have done over the weeks and probably months. I just want to mention about droppings. When they want to do a dropping, we always let them stop. And the reason for that is, you know, it's more comfortable for them, rather than, you know, horses like to stop and do a dropping, and we let them because psychologically it says something to the horse that that it's okay to stop. You know, they haven't got to keep going at all costs. And I have noticed, in general, those horses who haven't been allowed to stop for a dropping have a little more anxiety about stopping and standing in general than those who've been allowed to stop, and that they feel their rider has recognised their need to stop and that it's safe enough to stop. So I do appreciate that in a competition, you know, you can't necessarily stop, you know, they have to keep going, but unless you're in that situation, I believe it's better for them to be allowed to stop if they want to. It's beautiful, isn't it? And we deserve it, don't we?
Yes, it's gone on long enough.
It's gone on long enough. While I was walking towards those people, I've just been doing a little dragging of this in the hedge, my stick. I don't think we've done that with her. It is producing a little bit of worry, which it always does, so the reason I'm not speaking is because I'm concentrating. You know, we've ridden horses that have been much, much older than her, and so-called established schoolmasters, but you can't drag a stick through a hedge or the undergrowth. So I'll just be doing this from time to time, so she gets completely okay with it. I mean, she's not a spooky mare, which we'd expect after all the ground driving that Michael's done with her. The hard part for horses is to transfer that ground driving under saddle, and if they've never been ground driven and always ridden, if they've to transfer being ridden to being ground driven. So they are related in that you're leading the horse from behind in the case of ground driving, and from on top with riding. They are related, but the horse doesn't necessarily understand both processes automatically, so they do have to be shown how to transfer those skills. So what I'm doing is just bringing the stick through the hedge, and it's partly the noise and partly because I've got my arm out, and although she's not frightened in the way that so many Irish horses are, it's still, you know, something coming outside the body like this. Good girl. Now there's some licking and chewing, which means that there is a bit of an acceptance for what I'm doing. She's certainly not the worst I've ever seen. She's just a little bit worried about it, but she won't be. It won't take long, and she'll be absolutely fine. I mean, it is the first time that somebody's dragged a stick through the bushes, but we think it's an important part of their foundation training. Good girl. Now my leg is on all the time to support her and just keep her walking forward. Good girl. And now I'm going to talk about forwardness. Good girl. That was just a bird. She wouldn't have probably jumped at that had I not been doing this work here, because if you're doing something, if the horse is worried about something, it's only natural that they're going to be worried about things that they weren't previously worried about. And I think often there's not, it's not always understood. So if she's worried about me dragging this through the undergrowth, then, oh, she's doing a dropping. There we are. I can stop for that. Right, I'm not going to do this for a while because I want her to not associate the undergrowth with a pushchair, which she will have seen, but not necessarily on this lane. And it's funny how horses, they worry about things that move, but they also worry about things that don't move. So in her mind, although she's seen pushchairs, hi Jill, the fact that it's stationary poses quite a big threat. Yeah, sometimes the more people try and get away from us, the more it looks like they're half hidden.
Yeah, yeah.
And for the horse, that can be difficult. So she's looking at you, but she's also thinking, can I turn round and go home? Is that a sleepy girl in the... Yeah.
Yes, I'm always so aware, because my horse is terrified of pushchairs and prams.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, thank you, Jill. It's a lovely day, isn't it?
yeah, I miss the old riding.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Anyway, got an important job there with your...
Yeah, it will last out for a while, won't
It will. Right, so I just gave her a little moment to see that, and I was going to talk about forwardness. Well, I'll just have a tiny little trot to the end, and then I will. Trot on, Dexter. Oh, she's got a very small pony stride. I think her stride would be bigger if, if she wasn't feeling the ground through her feet in this way, but she's fine, she's not lame. Yeah, so what I was saying is horses are frightened of movement, but they're also frightened of things that are stationary, because when they're stationary like that, they look like they can pounce. They look like they're waiting. Right, come on Dexter, have a little trot. Trot on, trot. Good girl. Here's this house with its wrappings. It's been a challenge for the horses in the wind, but they've been surprisingly good. Let's see if we can trot all the way to the top. Good girl. Oh, she says, that was hard work. Right, we're going straight over. Now, I'm going to talk about forwardness.